Oh, I don't know.
Okay, so if you have your smartphones with you, this is the one time you get to play with your smartphone in class. You don't know how to work it.
My kids taught me how to text.
Do you know where your camera is?
Yeah.
You do? That's all you need for this is your camera.
Cool. Let me tell my kids that got started.
All right. So if you'll scan the QR code, or you can put in the website. I'll put out my thing.
He didn't trust.
Didn't trust. That's right. He didn't trust me, did he? Thank you. I did.
Great.
So if you'll scan the QR code, it will bring up a site, and after I start it, it will have a picture that looks like that.
I was like, do you have music in the background? Then I realized, no, that's my another page telling me affirmations, cute affirmations. There we go.
So the question is, as you look at the kids who are on that tree, around that tree, which one of those kids best represents where you are on a typical day that you are a Bible class teacher?
Mine are climbing up the ladder and sitting on the top.
Go ahead and tap on the one. Tap on the
This is how
one.
we feel.
How you feel? How you feel? Don, did you get too at a wrong angle?
Too far away or something. Do this, it's not that.
So if you'll tap on it, there you go.
So you want 3 responses?
No, not necessarily. I was giving you up to 3 if you wanted to do so. Just curious where everyone is at in here.
Access your content, we have to do that.
No, no. It's not cooperating with you as well as others, is it?
No, they tell me I'm not very cooperative. I'm not an anti-cooperation kind of guy.
So is everybody except John able to pull it up?
I got it.
You got it? Well, those are some interesting selections. Very optimistic selections there. John, if you were to pick one, which one would you pick?
In my interaction as a student?
As a teacher.
Question. No, sir.
Which one of these kids on the tree would represent you best on a typical day in a Bible class as a teacher?
Or does that represent us?
You.
Not the kids.
Represent you.
Oh.
I guess it'd be the guy on the top branch shouting down.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, primarily a preacher and instructor and lecturer, so.
You're letting everybody else know about it.
I'm having fun. These kids are hilarious that I've got.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're fun. They're not academically, most of them are not academically sharp, but they're sharp as far as common sense. They're just sweet, neat people. They're going to be neat people.
Good. Some of the rest of you, why did you select who you did?
I have the most undisciplined group that I've ever had.
Really? Which one did you pick then?
Chasing the ladder.
Well, those are the kind of kids I have, but I'm
Yeah.
actually having a good time.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
then I go home and I'm buzzed for 3 or 4 hours before I calm down.
Mhm.
I need a girl or something.
Yeah.
Come in, come in. How are y'all doing?
Doing well.
Good.
Got somebody who can give us advice.
That's
She
true.
knows exactly what we're working on.
So we are looking at the kids on this tree, trying to decide in a typical Bible class session, which one represents you as a teacher in that class?
Which one of the kids?
Hmm? And
Which one of the kids?
which one of the kids represents you? Yeah? Up there on the limb, all right.
Yep.
This one
On
right,
the floor helping someone out.
this
Hold
one?
it steady.
Okay.
Oh.
So you saw this one you picked too, but he's chasing the ladder. They
So
picked
that's
this
not
one, said
good.
he's holding the lever.
Yeah.
I was thinking he was helping her
I
rise
thought
up.
he was holding her
Okay.
until she
Yeah.
said that, and it's like, oh.
Mhm.
It's okay, this is one of these where there's no wrong
Yeah,
answer, so
right,
you're
yeah.
okay.
I would say the one climbing the tree,
This one?
Oh,
Yeah.
no.
because, I just kind of, I guess when I approach a class, it's like, I feel like he's concentrating on going up and what's coming and trying to just pay attention to what's going on,
Uh-huh.
to be aware of what needs to happen.
Okay.
It's funny, I'm thinking of my kids and which ones they are.
We talked about that too.
Yeah, they're all there. Well, that's interesting. Y'all got way deeper than I did, which is good.
And it's sitting next to the letter.
This one right here,
Above.
this one,
Yeah, that one.
this one up here?
Yeah.
Why that one?
She's kind of taking an overall view. She can see everything that's going on.
Okay. That's good. Would y'all say that managing behavior in classroom has gotten easier, less easier, or about the same as it used to be? Less? Wait, yeah. What I'm finding as I talk to folks, well, let me introduce myself first for those of you who don't know me. I'm Dewey Howard. I am the former education minister for the Green Lawn Church of Christ. Not that means they fired me. They moved me over. I'm now the administrative minister here. And so Bergen Connor took my spot here. And then of course, Courtney McMillan is still here doing the children's ministry things. But my wife and I have spent the last 35, 37 years working with kids and adults and Bible classes across all the ages. And one of the things that I've noticed is that classroom management has been one of the questions that most people have about how to do Bible class. I mean, they'd like to know how to do Bible class lessons. They'd like to know how to interact with the kids well. They'd like to know how to present a Bible class lesson that engages and keeps attention and is fun and exciting and that sort of thing. But one of the questions that keeps coming up over and over again is, what do I do with these kids? I can't get them to be still. And the other problem with that is what I've also found is when it comes to discussions about teaching and Bible class, then classroom management is one of those topics that we deal with very little. And I'm not sure exactly what that is, what the reason for that is, except maybe none of us know exactly how to do this.
So I've noticed that a lot of the teachers are just expecting the kids who come to church to know how to behave. So there's a combination between that and then the other thing that they haven't been given permission to do any of these behavior management things as well, so.
Also, every kid is so different when it comes to, I think my brothers versus myself. I remember once I asked my dad to spank me. I said, and then I'll cry really loud and I'll go play in my room. And that worked really good for me.
Yeah.
My brothers could care less about homework. They're like, okay, it was worth it.
Each
So
child is
just-
very different. Yeah.
Not that we'd ever spank the kids, just saying that. But knowing how to individualize it.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's very hard to teach.
See, all of that, when you've got this room, whether it's a room of 3 or whether it's a room of 30, trying to figure out how to reach each one of them and be able to talk to each one of them individually as well as a group, knowing that you've got permission to do certain things, because some of us are afraid of parents, aren't we? So if I do something to their kid, I'm going to get in trouble with them.
Or they won't come back.
Or they won't come back. They'll be upset and they won't come back. There's all sorts of reasons why we might not do that. The thing that I want us to think about as we go through today is, what can we do and why should we do it? And we're going to do that the opposite direction. We're going to talk about the why, and then we're going to talk about the what. And hopefully by the end of the day, you're going to have some techniques that you can take with you and use starting, well, you can actually use it on your spouse starting tonight, but starting tomorrow, whenever you see those kids, and be able to experiment with some of these. What I will say is, whenever it comes to classroom management, it's not so much a science, it's more of an art. And so you've got to experiment with it a little bit and see what you do with it. So question number 1 as we move forward. Why do kids have poor behavior? And we're not going to call them good kids, bad kids. No such thing. Yeah, good kids make poor choices, just like bad kids make poor choices. Bad kids make good choices sometimes, just like good kids make good choices. No such thing as that. Why is it that kids misbehave? What are some of the reasons?
The communication is not at our level. Their communication skills.
Okay,
A lot of times the behavior is communicating.
good.
It's just annoying when you can't figure out what it's communicating.
And that's a really important principle that we got to remember as we're dealing with kids. Kids have a limited vocabulary. The younger they are, the more limited it is. And so kids will communicate with folks, but they do so through behavior. They do so through the way they act. And they're hoping that you'll pick up on what they're trying to communicate through that behavior. Now, what we've got to do is to be good discerners and interpreters of that behavior without getting so frustrated with them that we just throw up our hands and give up on them. All right, why do kids misbehave?
Sick, you're hungry, you're tired. Are 3 drivers when discipline won't work.
Yeah.
And then you just have to feed them, stick them in bed, or take them to the doctor. But there's so many other reasons. Often it's for attention.
Mm-hmm.
Very biggest one is probably for attention. They'll take good or bad.
Yeah.
I mean, they prefer good, but they'll take what they can get.
That's right. Yeah.
We all seek to have positive responses, however we perceive that positive response to be. You're not beating me anymore, don't you love me, sort of thing. But we haven't identified the age levels we're talking about. The older we're talking about the age level, the less discipline they are receiving for actions for misbehavior through the public sector as well. And the loss of a standard of morality in our public sector has to have an effect on our children at every level.
Good. Yeah, Angela's my wife. She was supposed to be here with me today. She wasn't feeling real well today, so she decided to have a personal health day so she can get herself back together.
Tell her thanks for not getting us sick.
That's right. That's right. So we were talking about this week, and I raised that question as, okay, we're going to be talking about these things. What would you say? And she said, it's very simple. Says they're not being taught how to behave well. And it starts at home. It's also happening in the schools. It's happening in all sector of society. And so what else could we expect? Because they're not learning that elsewhere. Shannon, what?
Well, I'm also thinking of, I adopted a kid with FAS. And if she feels like she's not, if she feels like she's not liked,
Okay.
you're not gonna have a fun time.
It also seems like she uses that as an excuse sometimes, like, well, I don't have to.
Yeah, so, well, I have FAS.
Well, you see, there's a sports talk show host, Jim Rome, who asked the question, why does anybody do anything? He says, because they can. And I think that's the answer sometimes to why the kids are misbehaving. I can do this. I feel I can do this, so I'm gonna do this.
Yeah. Yeah. So sometimes it is because of what, feeling lonely. Sometimes it is just, well, just because I can.
Notice a lot of times it has to do with the relationship they have with the adults that are in there. You build trust with them. If they know that you like and care about them, they're gonna respond to things that you do or say in a whole different way than they would the first time they walked in the room, never having met you before.
Right. Right.
Well, and we as a church as a whole, I think we're having a lot more kids from trauma.
Mm-hmm.
And it can be a simple thing, they walk in and the color of your hair makes them afraid of you. It makes their defenses go up where the little amount of brain they can use has, half of it or more has been shut down.
Yeah. So what we're figuring out, or what we're talking about here is not only is it the fact that I'm not sure exactly how to deal with certain situations, not only is it that there are several different kids in there that each one of them communicate in a different way and need things in different ways, but each one of them are coming to us with different needs and different reasons why they're misbehaving. Let me give just about 8 here that stand out for most of them. And you can start putting faces to some of these. This is the attention getter. You know some of the attention getters? These would be our class clowns. These would be the ones that come in and know how to make an entrance. They know how to make themselves known. They love to, they love getting that attention. And if they don't feel like they're getting that attention, then they're going to do what they can to make sure they're getting attention. And that's one of the not strange, but that's one of the misconceptions that kids grow up with sometimes. Kids want someone to pay attention to them. They want someone who will give love and have that relationship with them, like you're saying. And if I can't do it with good behavior, I'll do it any way I can. And it may be messed up as far as the consequences that come and the results that come out of it. But hey, if it gets me the attention that I'm looking for, then I'm willing to go through that effort. I'm willing to go through that problem. So there's the attention getters. They're the ones who feel like they're failures. You know some of those?
It's funny, I just saw the same kid in both of those.
How so?
Um,
Oh, and in the child that you're thinking of?
Yes, one specific, because I'm putting faces, and the same face popped in.
Oh.
Which is interesting.
Yeah, this is the kid that just can't seem to do anything right. And they hear those messages, things like, why can't you be like, you just can't do anything, can you? It may be that they're trying and trying and trying. They're trying to work with the Play-Doh and they can't get it to work out like they want to. It just won't shape. It keeps falling apart, or they're putting the blocks up and they keep falling down, or it's those messages that they're getting from someone about they're not worth this or they're not worth that. And so they get this message that they're a problem and they always will be. And so why even try? And so they'll misbehave because of that. What about the angry kids? You know a few angry kids out there?
Maybe so.
1 or 2 out there.
I think more and more there's more of that. People are angry. I think what we're seeing in society is people are angry.
Yeah.
There's so much anger, and you see it in their homes, how they treat other people. They're just,
And kids are picking up on that.
the adults are so full of it. Kids, they're angry, they're entitled, they're just man.
It's tough. Yeah, this is the kid who, if he doesn't get his way, he's going to take revenge in some way. And usually you'll know this kid because somebody's going to get hurt. It's either going to be the kid, it's going to be the teacher, it's going to be one of the other kids in the room. My wife teaches, she taught kindergarten for a number of years. She taught Bible class and kids classes like all her life. But one of the things she noticed in kindergarten, she finally got out of that and became a librarian, media specialist in her school because she had a class that had 7 of those. And they would throw chairs, they would throw pencils, not just in the air, they would throw them as projectiles in order to stick somebody. It was a dangerous, difficult group. How do you deal with those? There's the one who likes control. You know those folks that just love to have control? And they will do, these are these strong-willed kids. It's my way or no way. And they will do whatever they can to take control of the situation, to satisfy that feeling of control, and then do what they can to keep it. And then there's just the one that's just energetic. They may have ADHD. They may not have ADHD. They just got lots of energy and they got to let it out.
I do want to say, sometimes it's actually anxiety.
Anxiety that's coming out through energy.
Anxiety will look very much like that picture.
Yes, it will. These are the ones that are running around the room. If you got, I remember the kid we had in Bible class one year, if there was an open door, he was going to be out of it. You know, so we had to be sure we had somebody stationed at the door at about all times. I mean, this is the one that just they can't be still. And it's if there's stuff on the table, they're going to be messing with it, you know, throwing it around, messing it around. They need to get that energy out in some way. And then there's just the one that's just bored. Don't you love the kid that just says, I'm bored? In our house, our kids stopped saying that because mom said, oh, you're bored? I've got some household chores that you can be doing now.
My kids hide from me, they're in college now.
Yeah.
Yeah. But where does the boredom come from? Why are they bored?
They're not engaged.
Yeah.
Maybe they've heard it a million times. I was.
We got this lesson again. I've already heard this one.
Sometimes they don't see
And
the point of why
sometimes-
they're doing it. If the why has not been explained.
Okay. Sometimes they don't see the reason for it.
And sometimes that's the surface expression of, if I have to engage, then my weakness is exposed. And I don't want to expose my weakness, so my boredom is my protection.
Yeah.
And all of this comes back, maybe you're getting there, maybe I'm jumping ahead, so forgive me. We have so many broken families where the home is no longer providing the structure for behavior.
You're right.
So
Well, and as a foster parent, sometimes that word look, they're actually, it's not there. They're thinking about something else. You know, we might be reading a story that triggers a memory.
Yeah.
And it could be a good one or a bad one. Like sometimes they're just not in the same place as us.
Something triggered them to go off on their own rabbit trail.
Yeah,
Yeah, they will.
and that could be for non-trauma, but I call them trauma babies, but.
Just experience, life experience.
And it's healthy to make connections.
My grandfather, my dad's parents, my grandfather passed away whenever I was in first grade. My grandmother passed away when I was in second grade. And I remember for a long time when I would come and sit in a church assembly, it was difficult to sit through the song, I Come to the Garden Alone, because that song had been used in each of their funerals. And it just triggered those memories. It wasn't that I had any, trauma in my life, except, grief, the loss of a loved one, but it was just that memory. And so there are those memories that take place.
Well, and some might be good ones.
Sure.
You know, if they come in and we're getting ready to do Noah's Ark, we might talk about water parks or something like that, and then they're either daydreaming about one they want to go to, or,
Yeah, and then you get this one over here. Oh, I want to go to yeah, let's go.
but the introvert ones are doing that in their head, but it looks like the green shirt kid.
It does. Then there's the one you were talking about, they just don't know what's going on because no one's told them what's going on. They're just uninformed. I don't know what the rules are. I don't know what the expectations are. I don't know what you want out of me. And we misunderstand misbehavior to be defiance or rebellion. Instead, really what it is I just don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. And so but evidently I'm supposed to be doing something. And so they can be, it's just those things are not clear. And then finally, there's the, you mentioned the one who just doesn't feel like they belong. Nobody likes me. Nobody wants me.
yes, I'll eat some worms.
That's right. And I'll bring some for everyone else to enjoy as well. These are the things we do see. These are the kids that we do interact with. And there's others. I mean, we can come up with others, the longer that we sit here and think about it. But what we don't see are some of the reasons behind them, are there? We've talked about some of them. I mean, some of them is just they're in a situation that's unfamiliar to them and they're uncomfortable. And kids have got to do something to compensate for that. And so they'll act out in whatever way matches their mood or their personality or whoever they are in whatever way possible in order to make the situation better for themselves. Sometimes it's because they come to us uncomfortable. They haven't eaten breakfast. They came and their parents were fussing and fighting all the way to church that Sunday.
They're not feeling good, but didn't know how to communicate it.
They're not feeling good. Their nasal cavities are all stuffed, or they're, got a sore throat and they just didn't tell anybody, or parents brought them anyway.
They're about to throw out that after Wednesday night.
Yeah. And so they've got all these things coming with them that we don't know what's behind it. We don't know what's there because after all, when they come in the door, put on your face, put on that smile. We're supposed to be friendly. We're supposed to be happy. but they're not telling us what's going on in their lives from the week before. You may have especially the damaged kids, what I'm gonna call damaged kids. You know, those kids that do come from traumatic situations, the kids whose parents are considering divorce, the kids who didn't have a place to sleep last night. And you may not know about that. And that lends itself to some of these things we're talking about. Some of it is they're acting out what they've learned from others, aren't they? This is how mom or dad react to a situation. This is what I learned from peers at school. This is what I learned from other significant people in my life. This is what I learned from TV. This is what they do on TV. This is what they do in the video games. This is normal, right? And so they act out some of those things in our classes, in their lives, because that's what's normal for them. It's not because they chose to misbehave. I mean, everybody does this, don't they? Or, hey, you say you love me? You say that you want me to have fun in class? I'm going to test that. They're going to test limits. And kids need to test the limits, don't they? But they also need to know that I love them enough that I'm going to stick with my limits. They need that structure. They need those boundaries so that they feel safe, so they feel secure. But they're going to push against them as much as they can to see if you really mean what you say. Otherwise, well, I give up on this situation. There are no limits here. And then, hey, after all, they're just kids, aren't they? Kids are going to misbehave. They're going to do stuff like this. To expect otherwise is unrealistic for us. Even Scripture talks about that. It talks about the foolishness of children and how we need to grow to maturity instead of living in the foolishness of childhood beliefs and childhood behaviors. And so we come to understand and come to expect there's going to be some misbehavior. There's going to be some ways the kids are going to act out because they're immature, because that's the way they are. So, as you think about these kids and you think about dealing with these in Bible class, we talked about it a little bit too. Y'all been really good about jumping ahead. I like that. See, what we're going to do is we're going to do more talking today and just kind of discussing some things. By the way, everything that we're talking about, or at least everything that I'm going to be talking about, I've got in a handout. I'd encourage you to take a few notes, things that kind of jump out at you, things that you want to be sure that you remember. But at the end of the day, I'm going to have a handout that has all this stuff in it. I decided to wait till the end of the day because I didn't want you there kind of going through it like this and stealing all my thunder.
But we're still doing it.
But you're doing it anyway, yeah. So tell me again, kind of let's talk a little bit more about why is it that we don't take care of classroom behavior better than we do as teachers.
Trying to get stuff done. Gotta get that lesson taught. Specific story has to get finished and I have to complete, I see that from teachers that they're trying to get through. Oh, I didn't, because I hear at the end of class, well, I wasn't able to get through everything today.
And that's the goal. I've got my lesson plan. I've got that book that you gave me, and I've got to get from here and I've got to get down all the way to the bottom. Yeah. And I don't have time to stop and take care of some of this behavior. Good. What else?
I've given up on that.
Have you?
Yeah.
It's not what's most
Yeah.
important.
Yeah, those relationships are what's important, aren't they? I had it was an adult teacher. Like I said, a lot of the stuff applies to adults too. They're just big kids. I had an adult teacher, and it wasn't so much a misbehavior except him. He would teach a class, and he would say, well, I would stop now and ask for questions, but I've got to get down to the end of my lesson, and so we're not going to talk about any questions right now, so let's move on. I said, no, that's not the goal. The goal is not to get to the end of the lesson. The goal is to provide an opportunity for people to learn something, and you might do that through the questions and answers, through the behavior management, those kinds of things.
I have a different situation because we teach special friends, so most of my kids are adults. But I struggle with knowing where their level actually is. Because I have a very wide variety. But there's some of them that's like, is my expectation way too high?
Okay.
And I don't want to discipline something they can't do.
Right.
But I also want to bring them to as high as they can get. I don't want them to be bored, and just sail through and not get anything.
Sometimes our expectations are not where they need to be. Like you said, sometimes they're too high. The kids can't reach up there. Sometimes our expectations are too low and the kids know that. And so they're, yeah. How do you manage those expectations? And sometimes it's all across the board, isn't it?
Right. Well, and if I put it too high and they're that little girl in the peak, they can't do anything right, I'm reinforcing that she doesn't have that ability. But if I put it too low, I'm gonna have the crazy kid, not in the clinical term, and then all of that. And then I have all those kids in class. And some of them are, the expectation has to be lower. And some, it needs to be higher. So it's trying to figure out how to hit all of those while maintaining, but they can do this and I can't.
Yeah.
And then I don't want to always be getting up to the kid. It's like, I don't have time to say good things.
Yeah. Well, understand discipline, classroom discipline. What is discipline? Whenever you hear the word discipline, what does that bring to mind? What does discipline mean?
It's been drilled in my head that it's a teaching tool to get them higher.
Okay.
As a child, it was a negative, hurtful punishment.
Correct.
Yes, and it was punitive at times. It was punishment.
It was always punishment, you know, when I was growing up at least.
Yeah.
You're gonna be disciplined for this.
And so as we teach as adults and we think about that idea of discipline, what comes to our minds is that's so negative. It's something that's so, it hurts the kids or it makes them not like you anymore. And so I just don't want to have anything to do with discipline. Well, understand, discipline is much bigger than that. Go
I
ahead.
think of disciples, whatever we were disciples of Christ, we're followers of Christ, so really discipline is you're following a way.
Right.
1 Corinthians 10, a father does not discipline his children. God disciplines us for the purpose of godliness. So I think that's the bottom line,
Yeah.
is whatever corrective action we take, we have to have the end goal in mind.
And sometimes that's painful experiences from consequences that we experience. Sometimes it's just the training of life and the training of scripture and the training of more mature believers that are around us. That's what we're talking about, the training.
Always involves impulse control, is what I found. Discipline is just so much impulse control.
How to stop and think before you do something.
Sometimes we're teaching, but they don't care about it. So the most effective teaching I have ever done has just been to stand and answer questions. So if they don't care about Moses, they care about something else, right? Whatever. Okay, Becky's teaching about Moses and stuff, that's the other level. But the most effective teaching I've ever done was just to stand, at whatever level it was just to stand and answer questions. For Afghani refugees, the first question is, what about aliens? Well, that's what was hitching,
Yeah.
right? So sometimes as teachers, we're trying to put information in that they don't care about at the time.
Yeah.
So the dialogue of questions from kids is more important than the lesson subject itself. Because if they ask a question, that's where there's an itch. So we scratch that itch and we gain their interest, we gain their trust.
It's
And that
this,
requires a relationship.
it's engaging with them on their level.
And
Discipline,
sometimes you just have to say, I don't know, let's find out.
that's right.
So let's look. And then we invite them into the search of information that engages them in the learning process instead of just absorbing it.
Yeah, now you're getting into session 2. I appreciate it. See, y'all are good at jumping ahead. Yeah, don't be teaching this thing.
So good at that.
She
I
is.
watched her do that in a classroom. Kids are asking something. She said, let me look it up. And she got on her smartphone. I was like, that is so clever. I've never thought about looking something up on my smartphone in the middle of class.
That's right.
And she had them all piled around her. And I was just like, that is so neat.
Google it. Just go ahead and Google it.
Just come on.
I just don't want them to see until, it's safe.
Proverbs 22:16. You remember what that one says? Train up a child in the way he should go, and when he's old, he won't depart from it. It's interesting because that word for train up a child, if you look in some translations, it'll have a little footnote at the bottom, and that word could be translated start. Start a child in the way he should go. In other words, set him down the right path. The fact of the matter is that discipline is a part of what we're called to do in Bible class. It is not just about giving information to kids. It's not about just giving activities to kids. It's about using those activities and using that information to help start them down the road of discipleship. And so I would suggest that discipline in a Bible class is, if not as important, it is right up there second in importance to teaching the Bible class lesson. Because you can teach a Bible class lesson, and if it is just information and it's not transformation, changing a child's behavior, changing a child's decisions, changing a child's way of looking at life, then it's not going to do them much good in the long term. There's got to be discipline a part of it, that training. And so discipline in Bible class, it reinforces what we hope is happening at home. Now, what we're finding is that fewer and fewer kids are even getting it at home. And so maybe there needs to be some of that with parents as well, disciplining parents, helping them learn how to be good trainers, helping them learn how to be good discipliners. But it reinforces good discipline that they may be receiving someplace else. In Bible class, discipline in Bible class is one of the ways that we demonstrate the love of God. You mentioned that God is one who disciplines us. In Hebrews, what father doesn't discipline their sons? He loves them enough to discipline them. And so when we teach discipline in Bible class, it is a way that we demonstrate God's love to kids. Discipline in class helps learners connect Bible truth with correct behavior. It helps them to understand this Bible story that we're talking about here actually touches something in your life. This is how it's to affect you. This is what it's supposed to do in your life. And then discipline in Bible class provides that safe and secure environment for learning. And isn't that what they need? They need that safety, they need the security, especially the kids who we sometimes call damaged kids because they come to us with really negative experiences. But this is the place I come that's safe. This is the place I come to secure. This is the place I come and can expect certain things to happen. Because none of the places in my life, none of the places in my world are safe and secure right now. So, that is the direction we're going to be going. How do we learn how to provide good, godly discipline? Knowing that we need to is the first step. Knowing that we have the permission to is the first step. Knowing that we have the responsibility to is the first step. Sometimes that may mean that we need to remind parents that we've got that responsibility as well at times and have those discussions with them. So in the following sessions, our goal is going to be to help kids develop that internal locus of control that people talk about, that ability to have self-control, to be able to control their own behaviors. And we're going to talk about ways to help kids learn that. We're also going to be talking about ways that helping kids own their own behavior. So that if they cause a problem, then they're responsible for it. It doesn't become our problem. It's theirs. And they've got to learn ways to be able to manage those behaviors as best they can. So that's where we're headed. That's what we're going to do. Looking forward to it. Between now and then, I know we've got the devotional in the DAC and the gym area, and we'll go do that, and then we'll be back in here after that's over with and kind of go from there.